At the beginning of the movie, we see 17-year-old Sean Anderson speeding away on his bike, trying to escape from the police. Even though the police chase him from behind, Sean keeps pulling unbelievable stunts and escapes their sight again and again. A few times he even comes close to massive accidents, but somehow survives. Finally, he suddenly drives into a stranger's house. While trying to get out, a piece of cloth wraps around his face. He throws it off, rides over a wall, and makes a huge jump straight into a swimming pool. As soon as he swims out, he sees two police officers standing right in front of him. Everything he did so far was useless. The police were ready to arrest him. Right at that moment, his stepfather Hank arrives. After a long conversation with the officers, Hank manages to get Sean released. But instead of thanking him, Sean gets angry and storms off. When he gets home, his mother starts asking why were the police chasing him. Sean had apparently entered a restricted satellite facility. Why would a 17-year-old go to a place like that? Sean doesn't answer. He just goes to his room and locks the door. A while later, Hank knocks and Sean opens it. Hank sees Sean staring intensely at a letter. After being asked several times, Sean finally explains the writings in the letter are actually coded messages. For the past few days, someone calling himself a Vernian has been sending these mysterious Morse code messages through his radio. Here, Vernian means people who read Jules Verne's adventure novels and try to uncover the real hidden secrets inside them. Many believe the books contain clues to actual unknown places. Sean believes the person sending him messages is a Vernian, and he's pointing toward a real mystery. But Sean's equipment wasn't powerful enough. That's why he broke into the satellite facility to boost the radio signal. Hank then says he can read Morse code easily because he learned it thoroughly during his Navy days. As soon as he looks at the first line Sean wrote down, he says, it reads, "The island is real." Sean gets so excited he literally jumps. He quickly grabs Jules Verne's book, The Mysterious Island, and says, so the island mentioned in the book is actually real. Hank continues, there's more in the message. It says the son of Stephen and 1883. From this, they realize it's pointing to Robert Louis Stevenson's novel Treasure Island, published in 1883. Sean brings out that book too. Then from the final part of the coded message, they decode the name of Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travels as well. In other words, 3 books. The Mysterious Island, Treasure Island, Gulliver's Travels. All 3 mention a mysterious island. Even though the stories are different, Sean believes they are all pointing to the same real island, and that the island truly exists. Hank notices that each book has a different map printed on the first page. Suddenly, he spots a pattern between them. Holding the maps under a lamp and bending them carefully, they finally see. When all 3 maps are combined, they form one perfect, complete map. This is the real map of the mysterious island. Even the coordinates are marked on it. The island is hidden somewhere in the Pacific Ocean, deep near the island nation of Palau. After everything becomes clear, Sean immediately starts packing. No matter what, he wants to go to that island. But Hank stops him and says, how are you planning to skip college and run off to an island? And what if these codes were sent by some crazy person? Sean then tells Hank he is completely sure. These codes were sent by his grandfather, Alexander Anderson. He was also a Vernian and had spent many years searching for this mysterious island, and a few years ago, he disappeared. So Sean strongly believes these signals are coming from him. Sean even says straight up that this island means more to him than Hank does. He will never be at peace unless he goes there. Hank was actually a very good man. No matter how rude or angry Sean got, Hank always treated him like his own son. So deep down he felt he should help the boy chase his dream. He also convinces Sean's mom, and after that, he surprises Sean by bringing their passports. Sean becomes unbelievably happy. Then they take a flight and finally reach Palau. But from here, the rest of their journey has to be by sea. Sean first tries to show the map to a boat captain and convince him to take them to the island. But the captain takes one look at the location and says, going there is basically inviting death. That part of the ocean has the worst storms and cyclones. That's why it's called the graveyard of ships. Even when Sean offers him $1,000, the captain refuses. At that moment, hearing the word $1,000, another man steps forward. He introduces himself as Captain Gabato. He claims that he is the best captain in Palau, and only he can take them to such a dangerous place. Hearing this, Sean and Hank happily follow him. They see a huge yacht ahead and think that must be Gabato's ship, but Gabato keeps walking and stops in front of an old, broken, half-dead helicopter. Sean and Hank instantly regret everything. Gabato calls out, and from inside the helicopter comes his daughter, Kailani. Sean falls for her instantly. Even though he hated the helicopter, he quickly shows Kailani the island location and asks her to take them. But just like the earlier boat captain, Kailani also says the place is extremely dangerous. Then Gabato pulls her aside and whispers, "Listen, they're offering $1,000. Your tuition money will be solved." Kailani then comes back and tells Sean it will cost $2,000, and if he argues too much, it may become $3,000. In the end, Hank and Sean agree. Then they start their journey in that barely holding together helicopter. The helicopter looks like it could fall from the sky any minute. Still, Gabato somehow keeps it headed toward the island, but suddenly a terrifying storm forms ahead. Seeing the intensity of the hurricane, everyone starts panicking. But Sean says they must go directly into the center of the storm because the mysterious island is hidden right there. Naturally, no one believes him. Hank even tells Gabato to turn the helicopter around. Then Gabato screams, "We're not flying the helicopter! The helicopter is flying us!" because the storm has already broken several parts and the controls are gone. A moment later, the rotor breaks completely and the helicopter spins out of control and starts dropping fast. Finally, it crashes onto a sandy beach in the middle of the raging storm. Everything goes black for them, but luckily the sand cushions the crash and they survive. They look around and see, far away, a dense jungle covering an island. Maybe this is the real mysterious island. Hank tells everyone to grab whatever supplies they can. Sean suddenly notices a dark cave near the beach. When they walk through the cave, a stunning view opens up. A world that looks like pure fantasy, gigantic butterflies flying in the sky, a massive volcano in the distance, and tiny-sized elephants walking around. There's no doubt this is the mysterious island. Suddenly, they see smoke rising somewhere. Sean thinks it must be from his grandfather's camp, so he wants to head there immediately. But Kailani says they should return to the beach right now, Sean argues. During a hurricane, no ship or plane is going to come rescue them anyway. Hank agrees with Sean. He says if they can find Sean's grandfather, they can use his radio to send a message for help and find a way to escape the island. So everyone starts walking toward the smoke. As they move across some strange-looking rocks, Gabato suddenly gets his foot stuck inside one of them. The sticky texture instantly tells Hank these aren't rocks at all. They're eggs. And if the eggs are this big, imagine how enormous the creature must be. While that thought is still spinning in their heads, they get their answer. Hearing a loud roar from the distance, they turn around and see a giant lizard. So huge, it literally looks like a dragon. Hank tells everyone to move quietly, but Gabato suddenly steps inside a broken eggshell. Covered in sticky slime, he crawls out, and a baby lizard crawls out with him. The baby's cry, mixed with Gabato's shouting, alerts the giant lizard. Realizing their presence, the creature charges toward them. Everyone starts running for their lives. Hank and Sean barely manage to slip into the jungle, but Gabato and Kailani get trapped in front of the giant lizard. Sean shouts loudly, drawing the creature's attention toward himself. The lizard leaves them and begins chasing Sean instead. Running as fast as he can, Sean reaches Hank again. Now all four are together in the same place, just as the giant lizard appears right in front of them. Hank lights a torch and tries to scare it off, but the lizard snaps the torch in one bite. Left with no choice, Hank punches it on the nose. This only makes the creature angrier. As it's about to swallow all four of them, suddenly a sharp whistle comes from a distance. The lizard freezes for a moment. Taking advantage of that moment, someone drops ropes tied to trees from above and begins swinging them, hitting the lizard from different sides. After a few strong hits, the lizard finally collapses, unconscious. At that moment, Sean looks up and sees, standing on top of a tree is his grandfather, Alexander Anderson, wearing a hat with a beard on his face. Sean's eyes fill with tears. Alexander is the one who saved their lives. Sean hugs his grandfather tightly. Everyone realizes Alexander has been surviving alone on this island for years. Hank introduces himself and says they need to leave the island immediately. Alexander tells them night will fall soon, and the island becomes even more dangerous at night, so they should wait until morning. Everyone follows him. Alexander then shows them the house he built himself. Using island plants and parts from his old boat, he made a strange but impressive shelter. The lights inside are giant fireflies kept inside large boxes. The whole setup feels like pure adventure. He even built his own radio, but he explains sending a message with the radio requires the satellite to be directly above the island, and it will take 6 more weeks for the satellite to reach that position. That means they're stuck on the island for 6 entire weeks. Hearing this, Hank and Kailani both become very disappointed. On top of that, Alexander treats Hank a bit coldly because he's Sean's stepfather. Still, Alexander promises them tomorrow he will show them something that will blow their minds. The next morning, he takes them to a mysterious place near the island. As soon as they arrive, everyone freezes in shock. Standing Standing right before their eyes is the legendary lost city, Atlantis, the one Jules Verne wrote about long ago. People built this incredible city here. The ancient buildings and structures look like time itself has stopped. Hank asks, but isn't Atlantis supposed to be under the sea? Why is it on the island? Alexander explains. The island sinks under the sea every 70 years, and another 70 years later, it rises again. This is because of the volcanic activity near the island. They continue exploring Atlantis. Suddenly, Hank notices salty seawater leaking in through cracks all over the island. That means the island is close to sinking again, but Alexander insists. His calculations say the island should stay above water for another 14 years. Hank replies, based on his Navy experience, the cracks and the water level mean the island will sink completely within 2 to 3 days. But how will they escape in such a short time? That's when Sean comes up with a brilliant idea. He says, if they can find the Nautilus submarine, they can escape underwater through the hurricane currents. Jules Verne wrote about this old submarine. Captain Nemo traveled here during his adventures and took his last breath inside one of the island's caves. Alexander then says, to find the submarine, they need to bring back Captain Nemo's old journal from his cave. But the entrance is too narrow, and he could never crawl inside. Kailani immediately volunteers. She will go inside. Holding on to vines, Kailani slowly lowers herself into the narrow stone cave. The place feels eerie, human bones scattered all around, and right in the center sits Captain Nemo on a chair. It seems he died sitting in that very chair. The damp air inside the cave turned his body into a mummy. Kailani moves to pull the journal from his hand. When a giant centipede crawls out, she screams and throws it away, and instantly a terrifying noise echoes from above. The next second, the entire cave begins to collapse like a deck of cards. Running for her life, Kailani somehow manages to grab the journal and climb back up. As Sean pulls her out, she falls right on top of him, and Sean is more than happy about it. The journal is written in Hindi. From it, they learn that the Nautilus submarine is hidden inside a cave on the other side of the island. There are 2 ways to get there. A safe route, walking all the way around the island along the coastline, but it will take too long. A shortcut, going straight through the middle of the island across mountains and dangerous terrain. Because they have very little time, they choose the shortcut. They begin walking along the edge of steep cliffs. Strange plants and giant insects appear along the path. A little farther ahead, something falls from above like raindrops. When they pick it up, they are shocked. It's gold. Small chunks of gold are flying out of the distant volcano like molten drops. Seeing this, Sean gets excited and wants to go near the volcano, but Hank refuses. There's no time. Then Alexander tells Sean Hank can't order him around because he isn't Sean's real father. Hank replies he is Sean's legal guardian and has responsibilities that Alexander never had. This leads to an argument. Annoyed, Sean walks ahead alone. Kailani gently talks to him and explains parents often make decisions that kids don't like, but it's always for their good. Talking like this, the group continues walking. Eventually, they reach a place that seems impossible to cross. A massive, steep drop with giant gaps in between. Walking across is impossible. Then Alexander does the most unexpected thing. He climbs onto the back of a giant bee and says these bees will take them to the other side. Despite their size, the bees are calm and easily controlled. Seeing him, Sean also climbs onto another bee. Kailani sits behind him. Hank and Gabato ride another bee. Soon, they're all flying above the mountains. The view below looks like a dreamlike paradise, but suddenly something white falls on Gabato's face. He touches it and instantly realizes it's bird droppings. He looks up and sees a giant bird diving toward them. Its goal: eat both the bees and the riders in one gulp. Seeing danger closing in, they guide the bees into the forest. Several giant birds chase them mercilessly. They zigzag between trees, barely avoiding the attacks, but the chase doesn't stop. Then Hank gives Alexander a brilliant idea. They should fly the bees straight toward each other. The birds behind will follow in a straight line, and at the last second, they will split to both sides. If done correctly, the birds will collide with each other. They try it, and it works. The birds crash together and fall dead. But one more giant bird keeps chasing Sean and Kailani. The bird swoops suddenly, and Kailani slips and falls off the bee. Everyone thinks she's done for. But Sean dives downward instantly and catches her just before she hits the ground. He saves her at the very last second, and Kailani is genuinely impressed. Hank and Alexander land their bee, and Sean helps Kailani down too. But Sean doesn't get off. He suddenly gets another idea. He flies forward alone, and the bird chases him. Using the same maneuver Hank taught, Sean flies straight toward a giant spider web. As planned, the bird gets trapped in the web, but at the same moment, moment, Sean falls off the bee and twists his ankle badly. Hank tries to treat him immediately, but Alexander says this part of the island is extremely dangerous, so they carry Sean on their shoulders and hurry toward the other side. When night falls, they stop and decide to rest there. Hank and Alexander work together to treat Sean's twisted ankle. Alexander then tells Hank to sing, because singing is a natural painkiller. Hank takes Gabato's small guitar and sings a beautiful song with lyrics he created. Alexander is impressed. Hank explains that he learned this song from his father when he was a child, but when he was 8, his father left him. Later, everyone prepares to sleep. Before sleeping, Gabato asks his daughter if she likes Sean. Kailani laughs and says, even if Sean likes her, there's no chance of anything happening between them, because Sean will return home and go to college, while she will go back to her small island. Palau Gabato tells her he wants her to go to college, and he will do whatever it takes to make that possible. With that conversation, everyone slowly falls asleep. The next morning, Sean wakes up and finds water pooling beside him. He immediately wakes Hank and Alexander. Hank realizes the island is sinking much sooner than expected. They probably have only a few hours left. They must leave immediately and head toward the Nautilus submarine. But Gabato is nowhere to be found. Everyone starts worrying. Where did he go? Kailani suddenly realizes where her father must be. Last night he said he would do anything to send her to college, so he must have gone to Gold Mountain to collect gold. When Kailani wants to go bring him back, Sean also wants to go. But Hank and Alexander stop him. Gold Mountain is 4 miles away, and with a twisted ankle, Sean can't walk that far. Alexander then decides to go with Kailani himself and promises to meet them near the coast. While Kailani and Alexander head toward Gold Mountain, Hank and Sean begin their journey toward the Nautilus. Meanwhile, Gabato has already reached Gold Mountain. As he climbs downward, he slips and falls. Right then, he spots a piece of gold and desperately tries to pull it out, but it won't move at all. He then starts digging around the dirt. After a lot of digging, he finally uncovers a massive gold boulder. He uses all his strength to move it, but it doesn't budge even an inch. At that moment, Kailani arrives. She tells her father he doesn't have to do all this for her. They will find another way together. After convincing him, the two begin their journey back toward the coast with Alexander, but after walking a bit, they get lost. The strong magnetic field around the mountain stops Alexander's compass from working. Without knowing which direction is south, reaching the coast becomes impossible. At this point, Alexander gets another brilliant idea. They need a spider web, because spiders always weave their webs facing south. Kailani immediately points upward. There is a giant spider and its enormous web above them. Everyone freezes in fear. Still, they follow the web in the opposite direction and continue walking. On the other side, Sean and Hank reach their location, but they don't find any cave. At first, they think the map was wrong, but soon Hank realizes the cave is actually below their feet, sunk underwater. To reach the Nautilus, they will have to dive underwater, but they have no diving equipment, so Hank uses his Navy skills to create 2 makeshift scuba tanks and fills them with air. When they run out of breath underwater, they can use these tanks to breathe. With the tanks ready, Sean and Hank dive into the sea. Swimming inside the submerged cave, they finally find the famous Nautilus submarine. Without wasting a second, they swim up and try to open its door, but the door is old and rusted. It won't budge. And to make things worse, a massive electric eel swims around them. If it attacks, they'll die instantly. Still, they manage to distract the eel long enough to pry open the door. Once inside, they finally breathe in relief. No water has entered the submarine. Now comes the hard part, powering it up. Because he read Jules Verne's book, Hank knows where the power switch is. He presses it, and all the lights flash on, only to shut down again in seconds. They realize the engine is dead after sitting for over a century. They must jumpstart it manually, and for that, they need a powerful electrical source. Then both of them get an insane idea. The giant electric eel outside can be used as a power source, but they need to lure it close. Hank ties the engine cable to a spear and prepares it like a fishing setup. Before Hank goes out, Sean tells him to come back alive. He doesn't want to lose anyone else. Hank promises he will definitely take Sean home safely. Then, wearing the scuba helmet, Hank goes out to face the eel. Sean shines the torchlight to attract the creature. After a few failed attempts, the eel finally comes close, exactly where they want it. At that moment, Hank thrusts the spear straight into the eel's mouth. Instantly, a massive surge of electricity flows through the cable into the Nautilus's engine, bringing the submarine to life. All the lights turn on. Sean jumps in excitement. Meanwhile, by the time Alexander, Gabato, and Kailani reach the coast, a violent storm and heavy rain hit the island. Fire and lava bursts shoot from the volcano non-stop. stop, but they can't find the Nautilus anywhere and begin to panic. The ground beneath their feet starts shaking with earthquakes. Huge rocks fall around them. The small piece of rock they are standing on breaks apart, and within seconds all three of them fall into the water and begin to drown. They are sure this is the end, but suddenly the Nautilus rises beneath them. Sean and Hank quickly open the hatch and pull them inside. Everyone breathes in relief, but the danger is far from over. Because of the earthquake, giant chunks of rock keep falling underwater. Navigating through them becomes extremely difficult for the submarine. Several rocks hit the hull, and everyone panics. Then a massive rock wall appears directly in front of them. If the submarine hits it, everyone will die. Hank quickly hands the controls to Gabato and runs to the firing station. He loads a Bartek torpedo just in time. Then he shouts to Sean, "Hit the switch!" Sean presses the switch, and the torpedo blasts forward, smashing the rock wall into pieces. The submarine passes through safely. Now, nothing stands in their way. They set the submarine to auto-cruise and finally celebrate surviving. People are hugging, laughing, cheering. Kailani is fully impressed by Sean. A new relationship begins between them, and at last they all return home safely. Then the scene cuts. 6 years later, Kailani is now part of Sean and Hank's family. She has moved here and enrolled in college. After returning with the Nautilus, Gabato has become extremely famous. He has built a booming tourist business around the legendary submarine. Now he is a wealthy businessman. Hank and Sean have also grown closer than ever. As everyone prepares for Sean's birthday party, Alexander arrives and surprises them. As a gift, he gives Sean another Jules Verne book, From the Earth to the Moon, a hint that their next adventure might follow this book.
And this beautiful story comes to an end. If you like the story, don't forget to like, comment, and share. To hear more amazing stories, subscribe and stay with us. Until then, I'll be leaving, and we'll meet again with another wonderful story.